Coming up on It's Personal, there's a new diet drug called Contrave, but it's not for everyone. Who is it for? We'll find out. Also, October is Bullying Prevention Month, and there's a special day coming up this week that you should know about. We'll tell you why. And later, this week is the 25-year anniversary of the abduction of Jacob Wetterling. Where are we at with the search, and what is the Jacob Wetterling Foundation doing for other kids and families? We'll learn more. That's all next on It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System.
Here's some news that should be as comforting as a teddy bear. Gundersen Health System surgeons perform surgeries with barely a scar. They use minimally invasive techniques whenever possible, so there's less pain and much smaller scars. It also means a shorter hospital stay and quicker, more bearable recovery, so you can get back to living your life. To learn more, talk with your primary care provider. Call Gundersen Surgery at 608-775-2331 or visit gundersenhealth.org/surgery.
Welcome back to It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System. I'm Chris Stauffer. Well, there's a new FDA-approved diet pill. It's called Contrave. Joining us now to talk a little bit more about that is Dr. Laura Marchiando, Family Medicine, and that's with Gundersen Health System. Thanks for joining us. Talk to me a little bit about Contrave, FDA-approved. That seems like a big deal.
Right, it is. We're very excited about it, actually. Approved about a week and a half ago for chronic treatment of obesity. Joins a couple of other medicines that we have, so we're pleased to have another tool in the box.
Chronic obesity. Explain what is chronic obesity. I think a lot of people are, they go to the doctor and they're told that they're obese. What's the difference?
Well, obesity was just recognized by the American Medical Association a year ago as a chronic illness. It's defined as a body mass index of greater than 30. Contrave is available for treatment of people with a body mass index of greater than 30 or people with a body mass index of greater than 27, which is overweight, as long as they have what's called an obesity-associated condition, which would be high blood pressure, diabetes, obstructive sleep apnea.
Is this for young people, middle-aged people, old people? Who is this for?
It's available for anyone over the adolescent age, so it's really just approved in adults. And there is no upper age limit, but with any medicine you would have to balance a risk of taking a medicine with other medical conditions versus the benefit that you might get.
Talk a little bit about how a person might get this. You would have to get a prescription, I would assume.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Prescribed by your physician. It's actually not available for distribution yet. It'll probably be a couple of months before that's the case.
So we're looking at sometime around the end of the year this might be available, and you'd have to get a prescription from your family doctor, like yourself.
Correct.
Okay. How does Contrave work? How does it suppress the diet?
Well, Contrave is actually a combination of two previously, frequently used medications. Bupropion, which is a medicine that's used to treat depression and also help people stop smoking, and naltrexone, which is a medicine we use to treat drug and alcohol addiction. And so it works by both suppressing your appetite, so making you less hungry, but it actually also works in the part of the brain that's involved in craving or reward. And some people will respond very well to this medicine because food can have an addictive-like nature. And so for people who have trouble sticking to a healthy diet plan as recommended, or feel like they've tried to lose weight before and they just can't stop eating, or they have strong craving for food, or maybe they can't reduce their portion size, they don't know how to pay attention to that full feeling and stop, this medicine can be really helpful.
This isn't something that you're going to prescribe easily, though. A person is going to have to meet a certain level of criteria before you as a physician are going to prescribe this.
Correct. I think the ideal person for a medicine like this, or any weight loss medicine, is a person who comes to my office and says, hey, I'd like to lose weight. I understand that I have medical conditions that would benefit if I lose weight. and I'm willing to participate in a healthy lifestyle that will help to get me there. So there are no weight loss medicines available that cause weight loss on their own. They need to work together with reduced calorie diet, healthy nutrition, regular physical activity. And so it's a person who is ready to work on those things and would like to use a medication in combination with those things that would do well with it.
Messages that we've been hearing now for a long time. Right. What about how well Contrave works? Does it do a good job?
Well, to be approved by the FDA, you have to lose at least 5% of your body weight. And in the early studies, it looks like most people on Contrave lose at least 6% of their body weight. And we know when we look at people, if they have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, pain in their joints from weight, if they can lose between 5 and 10% of their body weight, that we consider that to be medically significant because it will reduce almost all of those symptoms and numbers. Your health improves with a 5 to 10% loss of weight. So Contrave at least 6% is right in there and can really help improve your health.
Now Contrave, from what I understand, isn't the only FDA-approved drug out there for patients. What are the others?
That's right. There are 2 others for chronic treatment that are approved. One is Qsymia and the other is Belviq. Both are also appetite-suppressing type medicines.
We're talking with Dr. Laura Marchiando, Gundersen Health System Family Medicine, about a new FDA-approved diet pill called Contrave. One of the things that people always ask when they get a prescription, whether it's something over the counter or not, are what are the side effects?
First of all, because it contains bupropion, which is an antidepressant, it does have a black box warning from the FDA that taking that medicine can be associated with an increase in suicidal thoughts and behavior. So something to watch really carefully for. A person who has severe untreated depression would have to be watched very carefully. It can also elevate blood pressure, so somebody who has high blood pressure already that isn't well treated shouldn't probably take the medication. It can increase your risk for seizures, shouldn't be used by anyone who has a history of an eating disorder, and it can't be taken by anyone who's on chronic narcotic pain medicine.
Gotcha. So there are a few things that, as a physician, you really do have to keep an eye out for, and it would be really kind of a monitoring situation with any patient.
Right.
When patients hear a long list of side effects, and some of those sound pretty serious, and yet they've met those criteria of having that body mass index that is above 30 and maybe other things, do they sometimes decide that this isn't a good drug for them just because of the fear of those side effects?
I think weight loss medicine in general has a little bit of a rough track record with safety. We have had medications in the past that did have long-term health safety risks. So I think people, should wisely talk with their physicians and make sure that it really is the right medication for them, that the benefit of being on the medicine outweighs the risk of taking it.
All right, some very good points. Dr. Marchiando, we're out of time. Anything you'd like to add about people looking for Contrave or any other diet pill, magic pill?
They won't find that magic one, I can promise you. But it's nice that doctors now have another way that we can treat obesity. We'd like people to ask at our offices. There are a lot of things out there that you can buy, supplements and treatments that may not be effective or healthy, and so we'd like you to ask doctors.
Otherwise, diet and exercise, right?
And you got it.
All right. Dr. Laura Marchiando, Gundersen Health System Family Medicine, thanks for her time. When we come back, October is Bullying Prevention Month. We'll tell you how you can get involved in a date coming up soon. That's next on It's Personal.
Are you confused by all the talk about the healthcare marketplace and insurance exchanges? There's just one thing you need to remember. Gundersen One. It's a new option from Gundersen Health Plan, which is locally owned and operated. If you need to purchase health insurance for yourself or your family, Gundersen One offers a choice of plans to fit your budget. To learn more or to enroll, visit Gundersen1.org or call the Gundersen Health Plan Enrollment Center at 608-775-8092. That's 608-775-8092.
Welcome back to It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System. I'm Chris Stauffer. The month of October is Bullying Awareness Month. You've probably heard that already. Jeff Reiland, Gundersen Behavioral Health, is here to join us to talk a little bit more about what bullying means and what have we learned over the last couple of years, because bullying has really gotten a lot of attention.
It has gotten a lot of attention in the news for lots of reasons. There have been some high-profile cases with kids who have been bullied, and some to the point where there have been suicides. I think that also a lot of schools have been held more accountable for how to deal with bullying. In many schools, most states have very clear guidelines on how schools should handle bullying when it happens in that environment. But what we've learned is that bullying doesn't just happen at school. It happens at home. We know statistically that kids who are bullied at school are also bullied at home, and that the damage caused by people who bully children, older siblings in many cases, is just as bad as kids who are bullied on the bus by other kids on the bus or by classmates. And one of the things that we've learned is that parents can do a lot more by just being more engaged and involved in their home environment and not seeing that what they think of as normal sibling rivalry as okay, and that when kids are called names like stupid, fat, ugly in their own homes by older siblings, that can have a long-term negative impact on them.
You mentioned that it's not just at school and it's not just at home. A lot of times bullying is following these kids wherever they go via social media.
That happens way more than it used to, because most of us folks who are in our 50s and 60s aren't as familiar with some of the social media devices, and I'm constantly reminded of how little I know about those technologies by my own children. But we know that kids can get bullied 24/7 because if they are plugged into Facebook, if they're plugged into Twitter, or if they go online through emails, which is like the new snail mail, that kids can say pretty hurtful things. And not only can they say hurtful things to them once, they can send it to everybody else. And so you can hit reply to all, or you can have a whole group of people doing the same kind of behaviors toward one child. There's a app called Snapchat where kids can send messages that disappear within a matter of seconds, and so there's really no easily accessed evidence that the bullying ever occurred. And so there's lots of ways that kids get targeted. Kids that are bullied in this way through these social devices are often reluctant to talk about it because they're afraid their parents are going to intervene by taking those things away. And so they're willing to tough it out. They're willing to live with that bullying because they want to be connected to those other kids that don't bully them.
Grandparents out there, I'm sure, are listening in going, wow, it used to be just at school. Now it's at home. Now it's on social media. What's the message for not just parents, but grandparents out there, how to recognize this, whether your child is an offender or being offended through bullying?
Well, I think that the new technology is certainly a new pathway for bullying, but the bullying at home, that's always been there. We just didn't think about it that way. And so I think if grandparents are concerned about their children, let's say they're watching their grandchildren and they've got an older grandchild that's maybe teasing or taunting, tormenting a younger sibling, they can intervene by letting that grandson or granddaughter know that that's not acceptable behavior, and find a way to make it stop, at least in their environment or in their care, and then talk to the parents about that. And the other part of it that I think is valuable is to recognize that the child that is being picked on maybe needs some extra special attention or some recognition, because one of the things that happens for kids that experience pretty chronic bullying is it starts to wear them down. Their self-esteem declines. They become more reactive. They're more defensive, more sensitive to bullying or any kind of hurtful messages, and so they wind up becoming easier targets. So helping that child find something about themselves that they can be proud of, something that they really enjoy and see themselves as being good at, that they have mastered, can be a really useful way for grandparents to make a difference in their grandchild's life.
We're talking with Jeff Reiland, Gundersen Health System, Behavioral Health, about bullying, and I know there's people out there saying, toughen up, get over it, ignore it. And that's not just parents, that's brothers and sisters, that's other relatives who may recognize that a child is being bullied or an adult is being bullied. What's the message to those folks who are saying that?
Now, you know what? Those aren't bad messages, but I would take issue with the way we do it. So yes, we want kids that are really sensitive to get thicker skin and to not be so overreactive. And we have to teach them how to do that, to learn how to regulate those emotions so they don't get so upset when people or they perceive people are picking on them or when that does happen. Ignore it? Absolutely. It's a wonderful strategy. It just doesn't work all the time. One of the things that we know about kids who engage in bullying behavior is that they will continue it so long as they see benefit. If they see the other child reacting or falling apart or getting angry, it's like watching a show. It's entertainment for them. And so if they don't see a reaction, they're less likely to continue to do it. So we've got the toughen up, we've got the ignore it, and the third one, I'm trying to remember what the thing you said.
Well, toughen up and
get over it.
Get over it.
You know, getting over it is a little bit harder to do. Many of these kids, we now recognize when they experience bullying behavior, they're scarred for life, that it can really cause some serious issues for them later in life if they experience significant bullying throughout their years in elementary, middle school, and high school. And that we call it social rejection, that we know that children who experience social rejection go on to have some pretty significant problems in adulthood. We also know that kids who bully go on to have some pretty significant problems in adulthood. So, you know, I don't want to say that the people that would say those kinds of things are ignorant, but we know so much more about the effects of bullying on all of the kids involved in the process than we did 30, 40, 50 years ago. And so it's not that simple to just say it's no big deal or it's a rite of passage, everybody has to go through it. Not everybody does. And what we're now finding is that when we can intervene early, when we can teach kids how to be respectful and kind and have compassion and empathy for others, or even in early childhood or in early grade school, we are preparing them for healthy adult relationships rather than watching them have the same problems that so many adults have now.
Kind of interesting that you hear from time to time about people at a class reunion saying, I remember when we were in middle school and you said this about me and I didn't like it, and sort of, you know, coming back to say, and I had to deal with that and I'm still dealing with that.
Yeah, it can be really scarring. Some people don't go to the reunions just for that reason. And I've had people who said, you know, I was really mean to some kids when I was in middle school. I can't believe how mean I was. And how do I repair that? How do I go back and say, boy, I was really stupid. I was really immature back then, and I'm really sorry I did that. And I said, sounds like you've got a plan right there. Just do that. Thankfully, most kids grow up, but we don't always recognize the impact we have on others. And I think that's part of the recipe for success in getting rid of this problem, is helping kids recognize that their behaviors, their actions have an effect on others. And what would it be like to walk in their shoes? What would it be like if that happened to you? And sometimes those, you know, reflective questions really cause kids to go, oh, I guess I wouldn't like that. And so it's kind of the golden rule, you know, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that makes a lot of sense, but we don't practice it enough. And it's something that we really need to get better at.
Again, we're talking with Jeff Reiland, Gundersen Health System, Behavioral Health. A big day coming up, October 22nd. Talk about that.
Right, that is National Unity Day, and that's the day that all of the participants, so whether they're in schools or communities or businesses, are encouraged to wear the color orange, an orange t-shirt, orange scarf, something orange armband, something that says we stand together against bullying. And it's a wonderful way for schools, classrooms, families, in organizations, businesses, to say this is not something that we tolerate or accept where we work, where we live, where we learn.
Jeff, we're out of time, but before you go, a prevention message. What's that one thing that we can do to prevent bullying?
I think that, again, if we're looking at what a bystander can do, or what a parent can do, or what a grandparent can do, it's to have a good relationship with your grandchild or with your child, to make sure that they have a person that they can go to when they're struggling, just to make sure that they feel special to you.
That sounds like good advice beyond bullying, too.
It's good relationship advice.
All right. Jeff Reiland, Gundersen Health System, Behavioral Health, thanks for joining us. Coming up next on It's Personal, 25 years ago, Jacob Wetterling was abducted. Where are we with the investigation, and how is the Jacob Wetterling Foundation helping families and other children? We'll learn more when It's Personal continues. It's Personal is brought to you by Gundersen Health System.
Are you confused by all the talk about the healthcare marketplace and insurance exchanges? There's just one thing you need to remember. Gundersen One. It's a new option from Gundersen Health Plan, which is locally owned and operated. If you need to purchase health insurance for yourself or your family, Gundersen One offers a choice of plans to fit your budget. To learn more or to enroll, visit gundersen1.org or call the Gundersen Health Plan Enrollment Center at 608-775-8092. That's 608-775-8092.
Welcome back to It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System. I'm Chris Stauffer. Well, the 25th anniversary of the abduction of Jacob Wetterling is coming up, and Alison Feigh, the program manager for the Jacob Wetterling Resource Center, which, by the way, is a program of Gundersen National Child Protection Center, is joining us now. She's here to talk a little bit more about what's being done, sort of where we're at. First of all, can you talk a little bit about what happened 25 years ago?
So Jacob Wetterling, it was 11 years old in the fall of 1989, October 22nd. He and his brother and his best friend were having a sleepover, and the parents went to go to a housewarming party, and they called and asked, can we go rent a video? They had already arranged for the next door neighbor to come over and watch their younger sister. I mean, those are responsible kids. They landed their own babysitter. Patty, originally, the mom said no, and so then Trevor said, well, can we talk to Dad? Kids are very good at that. Dad, Jerry, got on the phone, talked to Trevor, and Trevor said, we're going to go right to the store, rent a video, come right back. And Jerry's main concern was it was getting to be dusk, so he told them to put on reflective jogging vests, carry a flashlight, go right there, come right back. And that was it. And they went right to the video store, picked up the movie, and coming back on a small rural road in St. Joseph, Minnesota, a man who was wearing a mask, who had a gun, approached the three boys. He separated Jacob from the other two boys, and the two boys ran home to call 911, and began the largest manhunt in Minnesota history. Jacob is still missing. It's never been a cold case because the leads consistently come, and there's consistently twists and turns in the investigation. And so we remain vigilant, we remain hopeful, and we do all that we can to keep his face out there as well as the faces of other missing.
25 years ago this happened, but still for the Wetterling family and for many other families out there in similar situations, this is a parent's worst nightmare.
Well, there's no period after the name. It's always a comma, and we do an annual family gathering, the Jacob Wetterling Resource Center, for families of missing children and missing adults. And they come together the weekend before Thanksgiving to get support from each other, to have someone say, I know how you feel, to get strategies of getting through the holidays. And the families have told us over and over again that they hate the word closure. The word closure means that all their questions are answered, everything is, and it's a nice little package, and there will never be closure, even with our families who come to family gathering who know who the abductor was or know where their child was located. There's still never closure, but the word they do like is justice. And it's our hope that as we work towards justice for Jacob and work towards justice for all families, that we can create a world that's worthy of our kids.
I know that recently there's been some billboards put up in the Twin Cities area, the St. Joseph, Minnesota area for that matter, and the idea behind that is, and what are the billboards, and tell me a little bit about what the idea behind those billboards are.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has an amazing division that does age progression photos of what missing children would look like. So we don't want people looking for an 11-year-old. We want them looking for a 35, 36-year-old. And so the National Center takes family photos, age progresses what that child might look like. And so there's a new age progression photo, and that photo is going on 6 billboards, both in St. Joseph, where the abduction happened, and in the neighboring town of St. Cloud, which is right next door. Because that's where the people are. You have to turn on the TV or tune into the radio to know what's going on, but just going towards your daily routine, you'll see the picture. And we know that in most of these cases, the abductor never comes forward and says, hey, it was me, I was involved. We don't have that, but we do have people come forward who the abductor told what happened. Almost always they tell someone. So our goal is for that person to see these and come forward.
So the search is still on for Jacob, but the search is still on for the abductor. Can you talk about that?
The abductor, we don't know who the person is, and no matter what the answers are when it comes to Jacob's case, we have to find this person so that this behavior, whatever has been happening, I mean, anyone who takes a child away from their family, from their home, we need to find that person because we don't know who else they victimized, we don't know what their history is, and we know that it's putting us all at risk. And so when Jacob had been missing for 10 years, the friends of Jacob, the classmates, myself included, we did a PSA directly to the abductor saying, we are going to find you now that the tables are turned, now that we're adults. Be watching because we are not giving up until we know what happened. And that's, I mean, you talk to Jacob's friends, you talk to the classmates, and there's that focus on if this person thinks they got away with it, they didn't, because we are now in a position of power and we're going to keep pushing, and we do.
We're talking with Alison Feigh, Program Manager, Jacob Wetterling Resource Center, a program of Gundersen National Child Protection Center. You mentioned classmate of Jacob Wetterling. Talk about your relationship with Jacob and with the Wetterling family.
Jacob Wetterling and I were classmates together, you know, so it's when the kid who's sitting next to you in math class is suddenly gone. For me at age 11, I didn't know how to process that. I still don't. You know, I still have no idea what to do with that. And for me, the way that I moved was I watched the Wetterling family and I watched what they said. And Patty, in one of the first interviews she gave, she said, you know, this man took Jacob. We're not going to let him take anything else. He's not going to take the marriage. He's not going to take our other kids' childhood. He's not going to take the childhoods of the classmates. We're not going to let him have anything else. And that, for me, was where I started moving toward. Okay, we're not going to let him have anything else. Let's start building a world that's safer and stronger for our kids. And Jerry and Patty Wetterling and the three siblings have just done an amazing job of continuing to keep Jacob's face out there, but also pushing for change for all kids. And they inspire me every day. That
leads us into the next question of what does the Jacob Wetterling Resource Center do?
So the Jacob Wetterling Resource Center has been around since 1990. We were founded on Jacob's birthday in February of 1990. He was taken in October of 89, so just a few months later. Donations were flooding in, and the question was, you know, the money was going to be used to help find missing children and to help prevent people from ever going missing. And those two same programs we have today. We have our victim assistance program. You know, people can call 1-800-325-HOPE. And get that information if someone goes missing or if they have a problem related to, I mean, we get calls about internet safety, we get calls about online exploitation, we get calls about family abductions, runaways. I mean, people call us, we get them connected to resources so that they're not alone. And then we have the prevention education, which is training the adults, training parents, training faith communities, training law enforcement in some cases, training prosecutors. You know, we merged with the National Child Protection Training Center in 2010 because their mission was to train professionals and our mission was training families and community members. And so working with the National Child Protection Training Center was just such a powerful fit because we had more voices, more people, and more energy around prevention. And now with the merger into Gundersen, we're able to reach the message, you know, in much stronger ways, as opposed to me and my nonprofit self behind my desk creating some clip art, you know, to try to get some information out there. We have really good quality materials. Our website remains updated. You know, we're able to get this information in the hands of more people because we want prevention education to be positive, upbeat, fun even, and not something that scares parents or kids.
Alison, we're out of time. I want to give you an opportunity you talk about that prevention message. There's parents out there going, geez, I don't want this to happen to my family. What's your message?
We say what-if games are a really good way to talk about these things with children. You know, what if someone asked you to get in their car? And it doesn't matter if it's someone you know or someone you don't. In most of our cases, the majority of non-family abductions is someone the child has met or knows. And so it's not about, do you know this person or not? The question is this person trying to get you to break your safety rules? Is this person giving you that gut instinct feeling? And you tell kids that they're allowed to say no to grown-ups who are asking them to try to do something against their family safety rules. You know, trying to get them to go in a car, and you say, no, I have to check first. And you go and find a parent because it's the parent's job to keep kids safe. It's the kid's job to continually check in.
All right. Alison Feigh, Program Manager, Jacob Wetterling Resource Center, a program of Gundersen National Child Protection Center. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And if you'd like more information about any of the topics discussed on It's Personal, you can go to the Gundersen Health System website. That's gundersenhealth.org. And that wraps it up for It's Personal. I'm Chris Stauffer. Thanks for joining us.